Hello everyone. Rick Moreno, your boutique broker, coming to you from Moreno Real Estate Group, our offices. Welcome to our new exciting show, Wealth Building Talks with your broker, Rick Moreno. We have been getting some really cool interest regarding all the questions that we have been posting about personal development, also wealth building talks, and also real estate talks as well. So let's get to it. We have a couple cool, interesting questions, guys, and we're excited about bringing those questions to you. First question is, I'm a new agent who is on track to close 15 deals this year. I have made more money than I ever have in my previous years working, but I have nothing to show for it. So what do you have as suggestions, Rick? First and foremost, guys, congratulations to you. I mean, the average agent is closing anywhere from 3 to 5 deals, especially in the first years. So you are way above the fiscal average nationally for what a realtor is doing, not only in this county, in the state, but also nationally. But I would suggest this is the problem that really pisses me off regarding a lot of agents in this state, and not only the people that I've come across is they come across these great commission deals. They're making 10s, 15, 20, 30,000, and depending on your city, you may even be making more. And then you ask them, what do you have in your bank account? There's nothing to show for it. There should be no reason whatsoever why you are a person who's making over $10,000 a month and you are still in debt and have no personal assets attached to your name. So the way to solve that is pretty simple. This is something that I practice and I preach. You have to make your commission deposits automatic, and you automatically invest in yourself. And the way to do that is to literally figure out a number in mind that you guys have, that you guys want to invest in. And first and foremost, guys, let's backtrack a little bit. If you guys are not into a position where you guys are near debt free or have a lot of debt, you guys have to focus on your debt first before you guys start piling up your cash reserves. So the way I do that is pretty simple. Let's say I get a basic commission and it ranges anywhere from $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, whatever commission amount you guys want to tag to it, right? Then I get 10, 15, 20, 35%. You guys pick a number in mind that you guys want to transfer over into a savings account, or preferably an investment account that will actually make your cash work for you. The one secret to wealth, guys, is not working harder. We want all of you guys to work hard, but what we want you to do is figure out a way where you are turning this way and you're working and your money is working for you on the back end while you are sleeping. That is the secret to wealth, and that's called compounding interest. That word alone, Warren Buffett says, even Albert Einstein, he called it as one of the wonders of the world. To have compounding interest is extremely important in your financial walk. Benjamin Franklin, I'm a former history teacher. I loved his story that he left behind for Philadelphia and Boston, where he left an inheritance to these two cities in hopes that they would be financially disciplined 50, 100 years, 200 years down the road after his death. And so he mandated that they have compounding interest on any money that he left behind in his will. And boy, did it ever pay off. So I ask you guys, it's never too late to start. What you guys have to do is pick a percent number from a commission that you get and run with it. Transfer it automatically and consider it like, Rick, I am paying the future Rick. So if I was 20 years old and I have this $10,000 commission check and I get 20, 30% of it, I'm going to transfer that 20 to 30% automatically before I even pay my bills into that automatic transfer, and then hopefully use it into an investment account where I actually make my money work. You know, people think that money is great. No, money is not good until you make it work. Money gets bored. If you're not doing something with that money, guys, it's gonna go cheat on you and go somewhere else. And what I mean by that is, if you just have money sitting around in your home or have money sitting around in your savings account, it's gonna become idle and nothing's gonna happen to you, to that money. Whereas money gets excited when you make it work and make it become creative for you. So why not do that, okay? So that's what I would highly suggest, guys. Pay yourself for the future and minimize your debt so that you could then have more cash in hand so that you can invest more money, okay? All right, next question. It says, I'm about to purchase my first fixer-upper. Any pitfalls that I should look out for when I'm about to get started on that? First and foremost, congrats on purchasing your first investment property. I remember how scared I was when I first purchased my investment property. I was a young guy. These are the costly mistakes that I have seen time and time again from me being an investor-minded broker. I've flipped over 125 properties throughout California, Arizona, Las Vegas, New Mexico, Texas, and also New York City. And what I found that there's a common theme from failed experiments on newbie fixer-uppers. The first one, it says, selecting a home with a bad layout. Guys, you can't fix ugly. Ugly is ugly. And if your layout has way too many walls and you're over here thinking, oh, I'm gonna be this crazy fixer-upper kind of guy, and all of a sudden you're having to tear down not one wall, but two walls, and then you're going on to your fourth wall, and then you realize that there's load-bearing walls, and before you know it, your budget is just swallowing you up alive, and you are now in a world of hurt. So don't select a home that has a bad layout. I don't care if the home needs a brand new renovation on all the ins and outs of designs, but what you're focusing on is making sure that that house has a nice flowing concept, that the rooms are where they need to be, that the bathrooms are where they need to be, and that the kitchen is in an open space that you could create a great party environment for everyone to be entertained on. So that's the first costly mistake. Don't select a home with a bad layout. Second one is overpaying on the purchase and then being forced to sell the home at a price that is not based off of data, okay? So what happens is, it's a huge problem. Newbie investors have a huge problem not finding property. So as a result, they get sometimes an inexperienced realtor who finds them property and locates property only through one source and one funnel. That's called the multiple listing services, or the MLS. Not saying that the MLS you can't find deals, but in today's hot market, it has become almost impossible to find that great investment property when you're focusing only through the MLS search. So you have to be creative. What happens is that once the property goes on the MLS, guys, too many hands have touched it. As a result, it's over leveraged product, and financially speaking, you're paying commissions on the front end, on the back end, and then also when you decide to sell it, you're also going to be paying commissions. So you're going to be paying commissions on a double load deal. So what that means, guys, is that's less profit for a savvy investor. Newbie investors don't realize that, so the best suggestion is making sure that you do not overpay on your property initially, okay? Because if you overpay initially, you are forced to do only one thing. You're forced to sell high. I give this example to my agents when they're negotiating, when they're talking to their clients. Imagine if you had a pair of Jordans that someone is giving you a deal directly from a Chinese warehouse, manufacturing directly from there. And then you have a pair of Jordans going into being sold to you from New York City Times Square, and the people advertising that are Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and all these crazy NBA athletes. Those pair of shoes are going to be drastically more expensive in the hyper marketplace of New York City Times Square. So that's the same thing in real estate. The hyper market is what I would compare to the MLS, and the off market would be what I would say getting that deal or the pair of shoes from that Chinese warehouse. You're going to get the same pair of shoes, but you're going to get it directly from the source, and when you get it directly from the source, you get a better deal. So as a result, you can make your mistakes along the way on renovation and then sell moderate and still have a hefty profit, instead of selling and being forced to sell super expensive, and then there's no data to back up that that higher price. So that's one major mistake. Number three, guys, not getting permits on work that require permits. Do not take shortcuts on items that require permits, and these are my must-haves. If there's electrical issues, plumbing, ductwork, HVAC, those are items that require people that are licensed to give you those permits, okay? Make sure that you get those permits, because you may get a good discount by not getting a permit initially. But what's going to happen also on the back end when you're forced to sell, sometimes you have to provide what's called a seller disclosure notice depending on the state that you're in, and it's important that you disclose that you did not get any permits, and then you're going to really mess that up. It's going to become a more costly fix, and then if a buyer is smart, I would be forcing the investor to redo the work and get permits, so that way all the work is done correctly, okay? Number four. Doing the majority of the work yourselves instead of outsourcing the work to professionals. Everyone always comes into this office and tells me, Rick, I'm a handyman. I got it. I could do all this work. And then my next question I ask is, do you have a job? Do you have a normal job outside of you being Mr. Handyman Know-It-All? And they usually answer, absolutely, I have to feed my family. So if you have a full-time job, but you're a handyman, and then you want to venture into your first flip, Do not get bogged down on doing things that require the hands of professionals. It goes back into tying into the previous question. So if you're focusing the majority of your time in doing work that you could outsource to professionals, guys, pay a little bit more, but your time is valuable to find the better deal on design, to find a better deal on a potential product, guys. Do not spend the majority of your time doing all the work. You're gonna become the slave to that. Do work that is important, maybe like painting, maybe flooring if you know how to do that. Some basic fixtures, you could go ahead and do that as well. But I wouldn't be completely doing a whole remodel of a kitchen or a complete remodel of a bathroom if you're not doing that as well, okay? The last major costly mistake is, and this is the biggest one, guys, getting into a large debt without any capital reserves when you're starting off your investment track, okay guys? So a lot of people, they say, wow, I could get a hard money loan, and they don't understand the dynamic of what it means to have a hard money loan. And then I ask them, okay, you could get a hard money loan and you could get anywhere from 70 to 80, maybe sometimes even 100% of that purchase given to you, those funds given to you on the front end. So you think, great, I get into a property with 0% down, that's awesome. But it's fool's gold, guys. If something happens, if something wrong happens with the property, you are screwed and tattooed. And guess what happens? They may call your note and you don't have any capital reserves in your bank account. You want to make sure that your debt is minimized when you're venturing into your first investment property. Second of all, you want to make sure that you have some cash reserves in case crap hits the fan. Yes, in case something happens where you are in a world of hurt and all of a sudden you realize that there's mold, there's asbestos, there's termites in the back of your inside your walls. Those are the things that you're not an expert. You're not an expert on your first investment property. So you want to make sure that you leave that buffer zone by having cash reserves on hand to keep you afloat throughout that first investment property, guys. So those were my investment tips whenever you're talking about purchasing your first investment property as a newbie. Don't make those mistakes, and I think you should be fine. All right. Last question, guys, and it's an important question. I'm going to be talking a little bit about a generic investment strategy. What are your important things that you look for when you're picking a particular company on the New York Stock Exchange? Very interesting question, guys. It goes back to my basic essence of how I operate as a broker and also as an investor. Guys, I look at a company, and if the company on the New York Stock Exchange, you look up their ticker symbol or any other investment website, and if that company has a large volume and annualized debt, then I stay away from them. And the reason why, interest rates are climbing, guys, and I'll try not to be too nerdy, but when interest rates are climbing, what that happens, it makes it also more costly for you to service debt. And what that means to you is that it's going to be very difficult for them to pay you off and its shareholders. So you want to make sure that you look at their balance sheet whenever you click on their ticker symbol and look at their debt from a long-term perspective. If their cash flow that's coming in is large, someone could have, let's say, $620 million in cash, but then they have over $2 billion in debt. Guys, that's a red flag. It's a red flag because sooner or later they're going to have to be paying off on that debt, and that's not something that you want to be getting yourself into. Okay, so that's the first thing that I look at. Okay, the next thing that I look at is I avoid the fly-by-night or the sexy pick or the hot pick, and the reason why is I want a proven track record. I want them not to only to say, wow, we just introduced a brand new product, or something is hot and it's crazy and everyone's jumping on board on it, guys. You're not a day trader, so I promise you guys, they already have information out there that you're getting second hand and third hand. So what I'm looking for is consistency. That's what I want when I'm investing my hard-earned money, because I want that money returned back to me tenfold. So instead of me focusing on the hot pick, hey, everyone's focusing on this. So I want to focus on, do they have a 1-year proven record, a 5-year proven record, a 10-year proven record, and then I compare that and I benchmark that to the S&P 500. For those people who don't know what the S&P 500 is, it's a combination of the 500 top companies in the United States and that are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. And so what you're looking for, that's the barometer pretty much to our national economy of where we're going on an up or down scale. And so when you are comparing your pick, your individualized pick, to the S&P 500, if you match that or if you beat that from a 5 to 10-year term, then you're going to be in a good position and you're going to be making some money on the back end. So make sure that you have that benchmark in mind. Okay. Number 3 is that we talked about it, I examine its cash flow in its 10-year return and its 52-week high and its 52-week low. I want to know what its biggest dips are in comparison to what its biggest highs are. And so when is a perfect time to buy a stock? Very simple, kind of like when you're buying a real estate property. You want to buy a real estate property or a stock for that matter when you are buying it at its lower point in its price index. You do not want to buy a property when it's super uber expensive, because as a result you're going to be forced to do only one thing. You're going to be forced to dump it when it's overpriced, and at that point there's not going to be a lot of takers when you're buying real estate property. And in regards to the stock market, you're going to be overpaying on property. You're not going to have a great amount of shares to hold onto your portfolio, and that's going to be a detriment to you guys. Okay guys, basic questions guys. I love what you guys are pouring in. Keep pouring in those questions guys. Wealth Talks are going to be coming every Friday or hopefully every Saturday, but we look forward to seeing all your talks, whether it be financial questions, wealth building talks, or anything regarding real estate. Your boy Rick Moreno from Moreno Real Estate Group, your boutique broker guys. Talk to you soon.